Hey there, everybody. I want to show you how to take a Game Maker Studio game you've been working on and put it on GitHub. So the first thing you're going to want is a game. And I already started this game, and I'm actually pretty far into it. I made a lot of changes, but I never put it on GitHub. So now I want to do that. So the way you're going to do it is you got to make sure you have installed Git onto your computer. So if you type in Git and you see GitBash, you got it. If not, you're going to have to download it online. And I'll show you that real quick. So Git, you just Google Git, and it's this Git downloads. So make sure you get that downloaded, install it on your computer. And then from there, you're going to want to get a GitHub account. So you're going to create a new account and manage the project. I'm not going to talk to you about like what that is and why you're doing it, because you can find that out other ways. I assume you already know you want your project on Git. You just need to know how. I'm just going to go ahead and create it. It's called a basic movement tutorial. So I'm going to click plus new repository because I want it to be new. And I'll call it basic movement, or I'll put GMS for Game Maker Studio basic movement. All right. And as long as it's a green check means I don't have any other one with the same name, so we're good. You can write a description or you don't need to. I'm going to keep it public. If you're a student of mine, always make yours public. And then we got to leave this alone, and we want to leave that alone. So we're going to leave both of those alone for now. We're actually going to add a README in a little bit. I'm going to click Create Repository, and bam, we've got all of this information right here. In fact, the quickest, easiest way to do this, you got to check this out. I think you're going to like it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy all this code. And then I'm going to find my folder. Now you got two options for opening a folder in GitBash. You could, when you're in the folder and you see the YYP file, you can right click and choose GitBash here. Or you can go out of folder, right click on that folder as long as it's highlighted, and do a GitBash here. Point is, you should see the folder title up there. In fact, you could even type dir. You could see everything that's in there. And as long as you see all that basic movement tutorial, objects, options, then you're good. I'm just going to right click and paste all that code that we saw there. Really interesting. It just ran all these commands just one after the other. If you have never done this before, it's probably going to ask for your username and password the very first time. I've used it before, so I'm good. I'm just going to hit refresh here and see what I see. Well, there is a README file. Now, but I don't see any of my other files. So let me walk you through all of these lines of code of what we just did. In fact, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to use my up arrow here. All right, the very first line of code we had is this. And this is one way of creating a new file in your folder. Echo is kind of like a print statement. If you're familiar with other programming languages, you write echo, and in quotes, you write the content of a file. And then you do the double angle brackets. These are called angle brackets. They're pointing to the right. And then you name the file. Now, a README file is a special kind of file. Notice it ends with a .md. That's for markdown. It's its own sort of type of file that when run on pages like on GitHub will actually format the text like HTML. And in fact, here I'll show you. The hashtag right here, one hashtag makes it a heading 1. All right, anyway, so let's go back here. Next line of code was git init. This is a thing you do the very first time you create a Git repository. Git init basically starts tracking your project, and I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm going to go to the basic movement tutorial. See that folder right there? It's a hidden folder because it's faint. In fact, a lot of students in my class don't see that at first. It's because you got to click on view and make sure hidden items is checked. So I recommend if you're using a PC, click on view and make sure you've got hidden items checked and file name extensions, or you might get confused and think you didn't do it right. That's what git init does. And by the way, just in case you were curious, this folder here is everything inside of it as all the stuff that is all the history of your Git project. You do not want to mess with that folder. All right, that was the second command. And then we did a git add readme. This means we want to take the readme file and we're gonna commit this. We're gonna take a snapshot of this file, and so we added README, and then we had to commit it. Oh, sorry. The commit is basically what commit will do is it'll take anything that's been added, in our case README, and it will take a history of that file at that moment in time. A commit is like a snapshot, a moment in time, a moment in history. It's like you create a timeline of a project, and there's certain milestones of your project, certain key events. This was a key event, the first commit. I hope that helps. And we do a -n, which means we're going to add a message to it, and the message is first commit. All right. And then after that, we then connected to this online repo. You'll notice github.com, 100 Visions Guide, GMS. Notice this right here. It's very similar to what you see here. The only difference is you'll see this GMS basic movement. And there you have that hashtag there. I'm going to go back a step. And the only difference between what you saw in that command and this URL up here is there's a .git at the end. And this basically connects the folder here to this repo. And you can already see we've made that connection. You can see that happen. And then we then sent our changes to the origin from master. Okay. And the push U means, I think it has to do with the username, so make sure we're using our username to push it. So I think this allows us, if we have the right connection, to be able to say, I have ownership of this online repository. So push is just sending your changes up. Now, master, this right here is the master branch. So this is like the main history timeline of our project. Master is the main one. And so you'll notice we pushed origin master. Origin represents the online repository, where it came from, basically. And that's what we did. And then that was it. That was our command. Now I'm going to type a new command, which is git status. Git status tells me we have some untracked files. Now, if we want to add something to it, we can, let's say we only wanted to add our .yyp file. I could do a git add, I can put a star.yyp, I can do a git status, and you'll see here that that basic movement tutorial p1.yyp is now a new file. It's staged, and we can now commit that. So I'm going to show you how I do that. And then I realized I was going to create a new branch, but let's just go ahead and finish this one. I'm going to do a git commit. You've seen this command before. You saw the last one. Git add, git commit is the next one. -m. I'm going to put adding main file. All right. So I'm going to do a git status. And we're still on the master branch. And we got some more stuff to do. One of the things is sort of a best practice. I've heard many professionals tell me to do this. Is that the master should always represent your complete project. And then any other branch is just like things you're working on. So like as you're developing your game, you would create a dev branch. So I'm going to show you how this process sort of works. So we still have some folders. Let's pretend we don't have those folders yet, or we have something different. I'm going to do a thing called, I'm going to create a new branch. I'm going to type git checkout. Checkout is when you want to check out a new branch. And so we're going to sort of branch off of master. And I have to put a -b because this is a new branch. And I'm going to call that branch dev. And now you'll see it says dev here. And I'm going to do the git status, and you're going to see those red files again. So now I'm going to do I want to add everything. So I'm going to use this wildcard, which basically means, all right, we just want all of this stuff. And now I'm going to do a git commit -m, adding objects, options, rooms, sprites, and views. I don't have to do that message. This message here is just going to give me sort of what happened on this time, this date, on this branch. That's what the message about the commit is. I'm going to hit enter. I got all this stuff. Now, I have a dev branch here, but I don't have it up here. If you notice, it just says one branch. So now check this out. I'm going to do a git push origin. This sends my changes to the origin, and I'm going to type dev. Actually, I'm going to start with master. I don't know if I sent that previous change to the master branch. I don't think I did. So let's go hit refresh and we can see what happened there. So I just pushed, there it is, basic movement tutorial p1.yyp. I just sent that change to the master branch. I now have 2 commits, and you can see first commit, adding main file. So that's what you can read those comments there. Now I'm going to do a git push origin dev. And now I'm going to push the dev to the online repository. And here it suggests creating a pull request for dev. You hit refresh. I am the owner of this, so I'm going to just go ahead and continue here. And there it says dev. I now have 2 commits, 2 branches. And if I change from master to dev, you're going to see suddenly dev has all of these files. And at this point now, you have a bit of a history going on. Let's say I test this out and my game is really good. And I think, all right, I think it's time for master to get these changes. This is what you do. First thing you're always going to want to do is you're going to want to open your game and test it out. So I'm going to click open. I'm going to look for the basic movement tutorial, open this up. I'm going to try running it. I see sprites, I see objects, I see rooms. Okay, so I know that's working. Let's just test it. And this is always a good practice. Always test your game. Make sure things are working right before you ever commit yourself. I'm just going to go ahead and exit out of here. All right, so I just want to remind you, dev has some changes and master does not. This is dev, this is master. I want master to get dev. So this is what you do. You make sure you do a git status, always good. You always want to double check. Make sure it says on branch dev, nothing to commit, working tree clean. I'm going to check out master. So we want dev onto master, so I begin with a checkout of master. Only after my git status says there's nothing to commit, working tree clean. And now I'm going to type a git merge dev. And that says merge all of my changes from dev onto master. By the way, I didn't show you this, but if I checked out master earlier and showed you this folder, you'd actually see those files missing. If you're going to do merges, it's also a good idea to close Game Maker Studio. All right, at this point, master now has all my changes. So now I'm going to push master. Git push origin master. And now I push master changes to it. And then once I'm done, you will now see on refresh that my master branch now has all of those. And notice I did not do, oh, I did have that commit. So we added that. I take it all back. Okay. So let's say I've got that. That's good. But I'm not done with my game yet. I need to add a new feature. I've got my animation working from left to right, but I don't have any gravity yet, and I don't have jumping. So I need to work on it some more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check out dev again, git checkout dev. And I'm on dev, and from here on out, I'm going to work on the dev branch. If there's some new feature that is, it's very highly experimental, I could create even another branch, name it either after that experimental feature I'm trying to do, or I could even name it after myself. Like, let's say I'm on a team, and I'm working on one part of it, and someone else is working on something else. I can do that as well. All right, so at this point, recap, we did a lot here. We put our project under Git version control. We created, and we actually got it really quickly. We created a new branch called dev. We added, I showed you different ways to add files. I showed you how to merge branches back on and how to go from branch to branch. I hope this was an informative lesson here. And I just want to encourage you before I go, remember, the master branch should always be the most up-to-date, complete, and working piece of code. You don't ever want to have master be broken, okay? And then you do your work on the next thing you're working on dev. And then once you're done, you do what I just showed you there, which is the git. You got to push your changes to dev. You want to check the status, and you check out master, and you merge that dev onto master. And then you can push it out, and then you check out dev again, and you're good to go. All right, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more.